everybody. My name is Edward S. Redcar, and I'm the host of Edward S. Redcar's Entertainer Chat. And today I have the extreme pleasure of talking with Oscar Torre. And he's an actor, a filmmaker, a director, among all other things that we'll get into today. And so, Oscar, welcome to the show. And how are you doing today?
Edward, thank you for having me. I'm great. I'm
Good.
great. I'm thrilled to be talking to you to meet you on Zoom because I met you in person.
Right. I know. I was just saying to Oscar before we started the show here that usually the majority of my guests I see virtually first, and then if I'm fortunate enough, I meet them in person. But now this was just the other way around. I met Oscar and his wife Judy at the the Love and Hope International Film Festival in Barcelona. A shameless plug, but I had to put it in there, which we both had projects screened there. And so, yeah, now this is the other way around. We've met each other in person, and now we're doing the Zoom thing and the virtual. And no matter which way it is, it's always a pleasure to see and talk to my guests. Yeah, yeah. What I usually like to do when I start off my show, whether it's an actor, musician, director, producer, writer, whatever they happen to do, I always like to find out a little bit about how they first got interested in what they're doing today, and sort of like the projects that they have ongoing in their careers right now. So my first question to you is, I'll post that first question. How did you become interested in acting, directing, and filmmaking?
That's it's funny. All of the above, I would say, I kind of fell into. It wasn't anything that I ever planned. Acting. I first became an actor, which is what I do for a living. Thank God.
Right.
I started when I was in college. I had one elective left. And I had asked my girlfriend at the time to sign me up for a class at a certain time. I needed a certain time because I worked in the afternoons. So I needed a class at that time. So she went to sign me up, and the class that I had asked her to sign me up was full. So she, as a joke, because I was very shy at the time, signed me up for an acting class in college. And at the beginning, man, it was horrible. For me, it was horrible. I thought these people were crazy. The rest of the people in the class, they all wanted to be actors. And
right.
I was the only one who had no interest in being an actor. I just wanted to be done with a class.
Right.
And in that class, I was failing it. And the teacher, towards the end of the semester, said to me, listen, you got to go up on stage and do something. You got to do an exercise so I can pass you. So I'm like, so the exercise was bring a personal experience on stage. And I'm like, a few years earlier, my grandmother had died. And I remember being in the hospital waiting to say my goodbye to her. She was still alive, but she was gonna pass away on that day, anytime now, at any moment now. Yeah. So I'm like, that's the only thing I can think of. Because I remember going in the room and reading Psalm 23rd to my grandma, which was her favorite psalm. I'm like, okay, that's all I'm going to do. I'm going to go up and I'm going to imagine my grandmother there, and I'm going to read Psalm 23rd to her. Easy. I just got to read the Bible, Psalm 23rd. That's my exercise, personal moment. So I go up on stage, and I remember recreating the first moment that before I went to see my grandma, which was in the hospital, sitting down against the wall. I had my back against the wall, and I was kind of shaking back and forth. I was very anxious, obviously, shaking back and forth. And I remember feeling the wall cold, and the waiting area was just cold. And finally, someone tells me, hey, you can go in and see your grandma. So I had the Bible in my hand and all that. I was going to do the exercise the way I had planned it. Little did I know at the time that I was basically doing sense memory. When I'm when I started shaking back and forth and imagining the cold wall behind my back,
Right.
and that the room was cold. That I did on stage.
Oh, wow.
But later on, I realized what I actually was doing, that I had no idea. So I had planned that I would go up to my grandmother and read the Psalm 23rd, and that's it, and walk off stage. I did my exercise. They got to pass me. So I did the whole thing. I imagined the room cold. I imagined somebody telling me, you can go in now. I walked to the center of the stage where I had imagined my grandmother would be there, and I would read Psalm 23rd to her. It was a private moment. Bring a private moment on stage. That's what the And I had my Bible. I had the Bible, it was a Bible that I believe belonged to her in real life. And my plan was to open the Bible and read Psalm 23rd. At the moment I reached the center of the stage, something happened. I forgot about the audience. I forgot that I was on stage. I forgot that I was doing an exercise. It was as if my grandmother was there. She was there. So everything that happened in real life, I totally forgot. And basically, I just embraced my grandmother and I started crying.
Oh.
I started shaking on stage, holding on to my grandmother, and I was just mumbling stuff to her. It was a very private moment. And then I realized at some point that I'm on stage in front of all this class of people that I don't really know. And I got off stage and walked out the door of the classroom. I'm like, I'm done with this class. I walked out, but it was the moment I got hooked.
Oh, okay.
Because for me, that was magic.
Oh, yeah.
The fact that was able to happen, have a real moment, real experience.
Right.
Not necessarily how it happened or what I had planned, but a real experience on stage. For me, that was magical.
Yeah.
And I think like an addict, that you chasing that high, that became my thing. And then the acting teacher in class, Teresa Maria Rojas, a well-known acting teacher in Miami, who I was blessed that she was actually teaching that class in college, because she taught a different class for professional actors that had nothing to do with college credits. She told me, hey, maybe you should think about, why don't you attend my class at night? Just come by, sit in, watch the class. So I started going to these night classes that she taught with more professional actors and people with experience and all that. The college class were just a bunch of people that wanted to be actors or wanted to, see what this was like. So that's how I first started acting. And then soon after, you start meeting actors in the class and they tell you, oh, you should get an agent, you should get headshots. You start doing all that stuff. And funny enough, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to try it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell anybody, because I was in Miami. I don't want people to think I was crazy. You do that in LA, nobody thinks about it twice. Oh, another actor. But in Miami, you're like, you want to be an actor? They'll laugh at you, which is what would happen when I told people that I was acting. But so I started going out on auditions, and then I started getting work, which was crazy, because I was not a good actor when I first started. I had no idea what I was doing, to be honest. But I started getting work. So early on, I realized that if I can get work and I'm not good, hey, it can only get better. Once I started improving, and with time, I knew that I would get better.
Right.
And then, it didn't necessarily happen that way, that as I got better, I got work. Actually, it's a weird thing, it's like beginner's luck, or being guided in a way. I think it was like something that I was meant to do with my life, be an actor.
Oh, yeah.
Tell stories, because, I didn't hit those walls at the beginning. Things became fairly, I don't want to say easy, but I met the right people at the right time to start out in Miami.
Yeah.
And at some point when I became serious about it, it's as if the universe knows now you're serious. It's go, okay, so now we're going to throw some obstacles at you. Now that you've gotten better at this thing.
Right. Now we're going to
let's make it a little harder.
Yeah.
And I moved to LA. I moved to LA once I wanted to pursue this seriously. I had done at that time when I moved to LA, I had been acting now for about 3-4 years,
Oh, wow.
and I had started a couple films, and a couple feature films. I had started. So I wanted to take advantage of that. Everybody said you should take advantage of that because you're going to come out, and again, it was one of those things that they weren't student films. They were professional films that were going to be released, and I had lead roles in them. So I moved to LA, but soon after I found out when I moved to LA that things are not that easy once you're in LA. You're one of many people who are from all over the world.
Right.
Come over here trying to, especially at that time. Now they go to New York or they come to LA, but at that time it was just LA. You went to New York if you wanted to do a stage.
Right.
Everybody else came to LA. So that was challenging when I came to LA, but at the same time, at this point, I was convinced that this is what I was going to do for the rest of my life, and that I was not going back. There was no going back for me. That I knew. So that, in a way, helped with all the bumps in the road, and there were many.
Yeah.
Because I knew that this was what I was meant to be doing. Don't get me wrong. There were times that I questioned my sanity.
Oh, everybody does. Yeah, everybody does. Yeah, that's completely normal. Yeah. So,
but I did have the advantage. That I had a pretty strong demo reel.
Oh, okay.
Coming to LA, it wasn't like, so that helped get me representation fairly soon after I got here, and made things a little easier at first. And then I think there's always like levels. The more you take a step up, there's other obstacles, and that's life in general.
Right. And then with each level, then you make different contacts, and those contacts help you to reach the next level. The next
level, yeah.
Yeah,
but it doesn't always feel that way. Sometimes it feels like you're taking 5 steps back.
That's right. Oh yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. So that college course, when it kind of hit you that's something, after your first experience, something that you liked. So that's when you first got, like they say, you got bit by the acting bug, as we all do, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you got bit big time. You got big time there. Yeah.
I didn't. I didn't know at the time, but it was big time. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It changed the course of my life.
Oh yeah. It does. It does, definitely. Yeah, because once you get bit by the acting bug, it's like you can, you realize that, this is something you love, and when you get up in the morning, it's, the only thing that you can think of in this life that you want to do. So, like you were saying, you knew that it was meant for you, as I assume, the rest of us do too. It's the only thing that drives you in life. Drives you really strongly, and and then you were mentioning when you were on stage and you were doing that true to life performance, and you forgot about the audience, and it was just like you were there with your grandmother all alone there, forgot the stage and the audience and everything. I think that is probably the height of what every actor wants to aspire to, where they just completely forget about their surroundings, that it's actually a script that they're reading from and memorizing. And you, like they say, you hit the nail right on the head in the beginning, because you forgot about all the reality around you and were totally immersed in that. So that's something that all of us aspire to. And sometimes if we're on stage or whatever, we might lose it for a split second and then try to regain that frame of mind. But you had it all going on back then. I mean,
I had a real moment. That's what it was.
Right.
I had a real moment under what was it? What is Stanislavski calls it? Something circumstance. But it was a real moment that I had.
Yeah.
Imaginary circumstances.
Yeah. Imaginary circumstance that seems so real that you get immersed in it, and then you forget all of the reality
what
of
you have
this.
planned, and it became real.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that's what you strive for. I mean, that's what I think every artist strives for.
oh,
To have
definitely,
moments like that,
definitely,
and
definitely.
inspiration as well.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Moment of inspiration.
yeah, yeah. That plus the inspiration and the passion for what you do is definitely key. Yeah, in any career, whatever you do, well, especially like performing, and you've taking your career from that first beginning point. From there, you've done TV and film. You've gone on to do TV and film, and one of the things that I noticed in a January 2023 Instagram post, you mentioned in being in 4 of the 8 episodes of Gaslit, which was a Watergate miniseries starring Julia Roberts, Sean Penn on the Stars Network,
Yeah.
and so you played the role of Virgilio Gonzalez, and
Hmm.
could you tell us a bit about what your character's role was in that miniseries related to Watergate?
For Julio Gonzalez, that was one of those roles that I auditioned a few times for. Um, and to me, it was somewhat personal. I had grown up knowing about these 3 Cubans that had been part of the Watergate. They were the thieves, the Watergate thieves. Um, and to me, it was personal because the more I started doing research on who these guys were, I mean, historically, they were wrong in what they were doing.
Oh,
Obviously,
no.
there's no way around that. Democracy of our country
Right, right.
was at stake by what they were doing. But what I thought was what was interesting and important is, and you try to find, you never think of yourself when you're playing a character as you're a bad guy, and maybe somebody else sees you as a bad guy. Depending where you're standing, you're either a bad guy or a good guy. But in the case of this guy, of them, they were Bay of Pigs veterans. Um, they had fought against Castro, the Castro government, and they were living in Miami, all 3 of them, the 3 Cubans.
Hmm.
And their motive was for being part of this. And they had one of them was a CIA agent still. And that came out afterwards that he was still on the payroll of the CIA and had been basically a star in the CIA, which you look at Watergate, and he wrote, one of them wrote that, when history looks at Watergate, it's going to be, if you ever make a movie about this, he said, it should be a comedy because how badly it was. They realized really quickly. What I thought was interesting is that they realized really quickly, these Cuban guys who have been in big missions. So Watergate for them wasn't that big in the whole scheme of things.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
They weren't expecting to go and be caught in the building and be shot in the head, and like in Cuba when they had
yeah.
done some missions. So what I found interesting in playing this role is that the reason why they were doing this is because they believed that if Nixon didn't get elected, and they didn't care about Nixon, they weren't playing Nixon versus McGovern or anything like that. But what they did know is that McGovern was more sympathetic toward Castro than Nixon was.
Okay.
And if McGovern got elected, nothing was going to happen in Cuba. That was what their belief was. So they basically were betting on Nixon. And Nixon had promised that he would go after Castro, and Nixon supposedly hated Castro for his own personal reasons.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So that's why they were involved, which led to have a line in the show, which in conversations with the director, he allowed me to say that line,
Okay.
which was because I thought that line was important for our characters in general.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
basically, I say in Spanish, I say to the guys, we got to remember why we're doing this. if Nixon doesn't get elected, we're never going to get Castro out of Cuba.
Mm-hmm.
That was the reason why they were doing it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Nothing else.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, were they wrong in doing that? Absolutely, they were wrong in doing that. But I think it was important from my character's point of view to say what was at stake for them
Yeah. Yeah.
in
Yeah.
doing this.
Yeah. So
which I think it's interesting in the history of what was happening. There were different people for different reasons involved in this, and that this is one of the many stories that had to do with Watergate.
yeah, 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 yeah. So then it all went back to how their personal lives would be better if well, when Nixon got reelected, and so like you were saying that the act itself was wrong, but what they were doing was right for their own personal lives, so could make their lives better and the lives of all.
Well, they're people. They're
Yeah,
people. They believe, that, and history has shown that people in Cuba, they didn't have freedom, the freedom
no,
of
no,
leaving the country. They were stuck there, for Cuba had many prisons, and there was no freedom of speech. There was none of these. One of them had his mom still in Cuba, wasn't able to leave. His mom wasn't
okay.
able to leave. So for them was a way of going back home.
Mm-hmm,
That's
mm-hmm.
what it was, going back home. And I
Yeah.
think at a personal level, we all identify with that feeling of what it's like to be home or lose your home.
Oh
Or
yeah.
and that's what it was, that's what it meant for them personally.
So uh, like for your research for your role and for the research of
Mm-hmm.
like your fellow actors in those parts, uh, did you were you actually able to come in contact with the actual people that were involved, or was it maybe a combination of that and maybe doing background research reading, or how did you approach
It was more research reading, and there was only one of them, the guy who was Musculito. They called him Musculito because he had been muscular when as a young man. So that was his nickname, Musculito.
Okay.
He 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 became a well-known figure in South Florida, Miami, and so he gave many interviews, and he lived until his mid-90s, Musculito, and he gave interviews all the way to the end. He was the one that wrote an article about their experience in Watergate, for who did he write it for? Like Esquire magazine, one of those magazines, Time magazine. I don't think it was Time, but one of those magazines. Which I
Or,
read that is
or maybe like Newsweek or something like that. Or
Newsweek. Yeah,
yeah.
he wrote an article for them, which for me was very valuable because it gave me insight to their point of view, how they saw things. And that's what he said. If they were making a movie about this, it should be a comedy because there were mess ups right from the beginning.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that was one of the things. And then I saw a bunch of his interviews. I read articles on Watergate. I read about the trials, about how they, you know, these people basically were willing to do the time. They didn't make any deals. They didn't cut any deals with the government. They basically were like, "You got us," and then later on they were pardoned. I think, and my character did, I think, 4.5 years in prison.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
But they,
I was just going to ask him, or I was just going to ask you about time served for your character, or
Mhm.
any the other two characters involved there. So yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
that was a research. They had all passed away when we did the show. That these characters, they all lived long lives.
Okay, okay,
My character died in his mid 80s. Musculito died in his, I think, mid 90s.
okay.
A
Yeah,
lot in my research, interesting enough, a lot of the people that were involved in Watergate lived long lives.
right. Yeah, they did. They did.
Nobody,
Yeah.
I don't think anybody died in the 50s or 60s or anything like that.
No, no, you
In the
take like,
most part.
yeah, well, you take like what, let's see, John Haldeman, Ehrlichman, John Dean there. Yeah, the whole slew of them. They did live long lives. I don't know how they did that, seeing that they went through all that frustration early in their lives, thinking that that would kind of eat away at the,
Mhm.
the pressure and the aggravation would kind of wear you down. But yeah, they lived through it. They persevered, and like you said, they lived long lives, went on to live long lives. So
Yeah.
yeah. So another project that you were in also um, sort of dealt uh, with controversy in another way. A short film that's called Union de Reyes, a film about a son who discovers his father's biggest secret, and that film played at the Oscar qualifying festival, Hollywood Shorts, this past August of this year.
Yeah.
And so you play the lead with Danny Pino and Tony Plana, and Danny, who wrote and directed the film, also starred in Cold Case, which you were involved in. So this film, let's see, it also stars Bertilla Adamas,
Tila
Lily.
Damas, fantastic actress.
Oh yes, yes. Yes, her Lily Pino and Luis Bofill. Am I saying that right?
Luis
Bofill?
Bofill, yeah. Luis
Bofill.
Bofill is a well-known Latin singer.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. Sort of like maybe say like a counterpart of say like Frank Sinatra in the U.S. That well known of a singer.
Well, I wouldn't say Frank Sinatra because I think few people have reached that level.
No, I
But
don't.
he's a well-known singer. I mean, he lived in Spain, so he's known over there.
Okay,
He's known
okay,
in Latin America. He's definitely known in Florida,
okay, okay.
which is
Yeah,
a huge market for a Latin singer in
yeah,
itself.
yeah, yeah.
But this Unión de Reyes or Union of Kings, if you're gonna
Hmm.
say a title in English, was written and directed by Danny Pino. I met Danny Pino. Crazy enough, I met Danny Pino on a table read of a project right before we did Cold Case, and he had written the episode of Cold Case.
Oh,
And we met in the table read, and I think we played like friends or brothers or something like that in the table read. And afterwards, he said to me, "Hey, listen, I wrote this this episode of Cold Case, and I think you'd be great for the guest lead on the show."
oh,
And he had
great.
seen me. I had just been on a series called Kane
Hmm.
that I had a large recurring role in Kane. I had just been on that, and he had seen me in that.
Okay.
He knew my work, and he goes, "I think you'd be great in this role. You would have to audition, but I'd put you in the list of somebody who you'd be one of the people that I recommend." So I went in, I auditioned for that episode of Cold Case, and I booked it, and it was to this day still one of the my favorite things I've done.
Uh-huh.
And again, it was one of those characters that are live in the gray area, and I played a Cuban baseball player um,
Okay.
who had been sent back to Cuba, had been caught trying to make it to the U.S., was sent back to Cuba because he didn't touch land. The law in the U.S. at the time said that you need to be in dry land. They
Oh,
caught him.
okay.
They caught him at the beach,
Oh,
a few feet from land. So he was sent back to Cuba. Imagine being on a raft, making it here, but not reaching land.
oh, okay.
So the whole story had to do with Cuba in a way, and this story of this baseball player who had been a huge baseball star, and then makes it back to the U.S. And when he makes it back to the U.S., everybody thinks that he's gonna be going to the major leagues and all that. What nobody knew was, because he didn't tell anybody, was that his arm had been broken in Cuba when he was in prison. The guards broke his arm as punishment.
Oh, okay.
So that was a big twist in the story, and a great role that I loved playing. And Danny beautifully wrote it. with Elwood Reed. He co-wrote it with Elwood Reed, a fantastic writer who was a showrunner of Bridge. And then years later, I don't know how many years later, Danny writes Unión de Reyes, and he writes this great role, and he invites me to be part of the cast and come play with him and Tony Plana and Bertila Damas, which were actors, and Lily Pino, his wife, who's a fantastic actress herself, and Luis Bofil. So for me, it was great, and we shot it in Miami. We shot in Florida, which, you know, I'm from Miami, so going back home for work is always nice.
Right.
And the movie turned out.
Yeah, I was going to ask you where you were originally from there, but yeah, that answers my question. Yeah.
Yeah, I was born and raised in Miami.
Okay.
Cuban parents. So going back to Miami and doing this film that turned out beautifully, and like you said, it premiered at the Holly Shorts Film Festival, and people loved it, and I'm sure it's going to play in other big festivals soon. I believe I can't announce it yet, but I believe at around April, May, it's going to be playing another big festival.
Okay. Well, I mean, with all that great, all of your great talents in there, plus a good storyline, yeah, I don't doubt that it'll keep making its appearance in festivals, and yeah.
And you know what's funny about that? Little side story. Tony Plana is in the show, HBO show, White House Plumbers. So I was shooting Gasly. I was off that week when we did the Unión de Reyes. So luckily it worked out. And Tony was off from White House Plumbers, and he was playing one of the roles, similar role to the one I was playing in Unión de Reyes and Gasly. So what are the odds of that?
Well, good timing, you know, like they say, it's all in the timing like that. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. So that the short film Unión de Reyes, now it was about a son who discovers his father's biggest secret, but can you talk about, or you know, are you at liberty to talk about, say, the events in the film?
It's hard to describe what the movie's about. I can just say it's a family drama.
Okay.
The family drama, and it has to do with his son and his dad. It's hard to say more without giving it away.
Yeah. That's what I was trying to work around. If there was any way that you could say more but say less at the same time.
Totally. So, I think that's always a challenge with short films.
Yeah.
How do you describe them without giving away the twist or
the
story is really about?
Yeah.
Because it's so short. The feature, you can talk your way around it.
Right. Well, you know, the way you described it, you called it the family drama. So I think we all have experiences with our own family and relatives. So I kind of think that we can get sort of an idea in the back of our heads how things play out in family dramas, even, you know, in real life, and are reflected in films. So I think you said just the right amount there of family drama, so that's enough to keep our appetites wet to when we actually do see it. Yeah. So that was a good way to put it, family drama. So telling about it without giving too much away. So
and a family and a son father story in many ways.
Yeah. And like I said, you know, we've all had experience with that, so we can kind of get an idea, probably not exactly how things play out in the short film, but sort of the way that things can, in what direction, you know, they can head, what they can head in. You were talking about Kane there on CBS, and your role as a baseball player. So, you know, since you do like feature films, short films, TV, series on TV. Do the projects say that either you've had in the past or on the table now, or projects that you're planning for the future? Is there a certain ratio, like an equal amount of TV that you do, or films made by others that you get roles in, and also like your own film projects? Is there a certain amount one takes over the other, or is it sort of like equal across the board?
I never really thought about it that way. What the ratio of what I do. I know I started doing film for whatever reason. It was easier for me to get work in film at first,
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
and then I booked Kane. Cold Case was the one that I played a baseball player. In
Mm-hmm.
Kane, I was just a guy I was a guy who had just come from Cuba. It was a little shady, and his name was Santos Saint was his name, but he was far from a saint. Uh, but he was a colorful character. Loved playing that character, and the character becomes Jimmy Smith's right hand guy, and really his friend, which was a huge arc in the character, and became really popular character in the show because he was fun. He was like a real life. He felt like a real life Tony Montana.
Mm-hmm.
One of these guys that he's you don't want him as your neighbor, but if you meet him, he might have you laughing. He might kill
Right.
you at the end, but you're gonna be laughing with him at some point. Um, but he was loyal. He was
Uh-huh.
very loyal, and he was a man of his word. So he had a lot of positives as well, and
Okay.
got to really care for the Jimmy Smith's character. And for
Uh-huh.
me, that was the first big role that I got in Hollywood.
Okay. Okay.
Being in that cast, Jimmy Smith's, Hector Elizondo, Nestor
Oh
Carbonell,
yes, Hector
uh,
Elizondo. Oh yeah, yeah.
Ken Howard, who was a president, went on to become the president of SAG. Rest in peace. Um, Rita Moreno, who had won an Oscar for West Side
Oh
Story,
yeah,
and
Rita Moreno.
Tony and
Oh
everything
yeah.
else.
Oh wow.
Man, the first time I was on that table read, that I got cast, and I'm there, and I'm on the table read, and my character was a pretty big role on the show, and it went on to be a bigger role in the show. But for the pilot, it was like pretty big role, and I had not done anything
Uh-huh.
in Hollywood. I had done indie films in Miami, and I had moved to LA. So suddenly I have a main role in this show, and seeing these people who I've looked up to my whole life, who I grew up watching, and who a legend, Rita Moreno. My mom mentioned Rita Moreno a million times growing up.
Right.
She's here sitting next to me, and Hector Elizondo for Pretty Woman,
Yeah.
and Esther Carbonell that I had seen on TV and on everything, and Jimmy Smits, who at that point already was a legend.
Yeah,
And
right.
I'm going, basically my character in the whole show is going back and forth with Jimmy. Um, it was a dream come true, and then the character was so beautifully written by Cynthia Sidre.
Mm-hmm.
Cynthia Sidre had written Mambo Kings, and the showrunners were her and Jonathan Prince, who I didn't know at the time, but he's a guy who's done tons of shows as well. So
Yeah.
it was the writer's strike came at the time, and the show, we had one season and it ended. But that show opened doors for me because there's nothing, there's nothing that reaches more people, especially at that time that cable wasn't that huge like it is now. Um, People watched network TV. That was the thing to do. And the show had good ratings,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and people would quote
Yeah.
me in the street. And they go, I spoke with an accent, and I called Jimmy Smith with the Bea. And it was a great character to play. And for me, it was like I went from nobody knew me to suddenly being recognized in the street and for this character that I was
Mhm.
playing on TV every Tuesday nights. It was a dream come true, and in a way, it told me, listen, you're on the right path. You're
Mhm.
not crazy for going to Hollywood and thinking that you could be an actor, because everybody I know, most of my family and friends thought like he's crazy. He's crazy going to Hollywood. Everybody goes to Hollywood. And at that point, I had been here like 5 years and hadn't done really anything major.
Yeah, yeah.
I had done a film. I had done a Spanish film right before I did that. That was produced by Lionsgate. It was the first time that an American studio produced a Spanish film. Had never been done before. They've distributed it, but never put their own money. And the movie's called Ladrón que roba ladrón. That movie, funny enough, became a hit when it came out. And in the big scheme of things, did open doors for me, but it was a little slower in doing that. It didn't happen right away. So that was big. I had just done that. So that gave me confidence as well when I went. And it was a film that I knew would come out theatrically. And it came out theatrically in 300 and something theaters, which was big for Spanish film in the US. And they came out everywhere else. So that gave me confidence when I did the audition for Kane. But I was always like, I remember auditioning for Kane and seeing actors that I recognized from TV who were in the callback for the same role I was playing. But I had this mentality of like, I'm gonna book this. I'm gonna book this. I just hyped myself, and then I booked it. And then I'm shooting the not the pilot, the episode after the pilot, after we got picked up, first episode. And at some point, I'm sitting in the car with Jimmy Smits waiting, and they're putting the lights on the car, and the camera on the car, shoot us. I was driving, and he was right next to me, and he turns to me and goes, "Oye, so Santo, did you come from Cuba on a raft, or you came on a plane?" And something popped up here on Zoom, but it's okay. Well, did you come on a raft, or you came on a plane? And I said, I started laughing. I go, no, I was born in Miami. But at that point, I always spoke with the accent. I never broke character in the audition. I went in, and I went in and I spoke with a Cuban accent, like I just got here, and I said the Spanish words, and I ad-lib stuff that normally you don't do in an audition. Start ad-libbing, especially when you're meeting with everybody from network to the writer to you don't start changing stuff. But I felt that I knew this character so well that I could personalize it. So I added little things here and there, and that ended up getting me the role. And then when I told him that I was born and raised in Miami, he started laughing. He goes, we thought, because network needs to approve you when you get a role this big on a show. What we told network is that you were a well-known actor in Cuba.
Oh, okay.
And that's why you didn't have any U.S. credits, because CBS was like, he doesn't have any credits. You sure you want to? And they were like, no, he's from Cuba. He's worked in Cuba. I mean, that won't show on IMDb.
Right.
So that's that. Obviously, my audition was good, or else I wouldn't have gotten the role. So with my audition and with my vast experience of working in Cuba, supposedly, I booked this big role.
Good thing you got all that prior experience in Cuba, right? Good
right, yeah.
Well, like they say, like in an audition or anything else, it's all about the choices you make, right? It's like some choices might not be so good, but it's like you got to take the chance anyway, right?
Make a bold, strong choice.
That's
It'll be a wrong choice, but it's better than no choice or a weak choice.
That's right. Or like maybe if you make a certain choice and you go in a different direction, and maybe you're filming and the directors like it, he'll want they'll want to see it again, right? Or say to you, could you do it again? But the certain thing that you did in this one spot in the scene, could you do it throughout the whole scene? And it's like they sort of like recognize your talent and want to see so much more of it throughout the whole scene.
Well, it happened in Kane. A couple of things. I said a word in the audition. That's acere. Acere is a street slang word. I think it's an Afro-Cuban word.
Okay.
That it's usually not said by highly educated people. It's not part of your lexicon if you're highly educated. But if you're from the streets, you might say acere. which is like saying, "Hey, brother," or "Hey, man."
Yeah, yeah.
And I called Jimmy's character in the audition. I said it.
Oh,
He said something to me. I go, "Oh yeah, I said it. I do what I gotta do for my family." That was the line. I do what I gotta do for my family.
okay.
But before saying the line that was written like that, I said, "I said it.
Said it.
I said it. I said it." Luckily, Cynthia Cedre is originally from Miami,
Oh, okay.
so she knew the word. Nobody else in that room knew the word. Nobody else had heard that word ever. After the audition, Cynthia says to me, "You know, it's been 20 something years since I've heard that word."
Wow.
She says, later on, when the show starts and I'm in the show, that was part of my character. I would call people Acere.
Oh, okay.
She wrote it in. She wrote that in. She wrote in. The character said, Senor Vega. Whenever I would approach him, it said, Senor Vega. That's what was written. Senor Vega. I changed it to Mr. Vega.
Ah,
Mr. Vega.
uh-huh.
So like I tried to do. I was doing my best to speak English.
Right, right. Well,
My
see,
character.
yeah, see, you made that choice back then, and it paid off,
It
right?
stuck.
You,
It stuck
you,
with the character. People liked it. The audience
right?
liked it. In the street, I remember going to Miami to a restaurant. I was sitting at a restaurant. The restaurant was packed, and I hear from the end of the restaurant, "Mr. Burger!" Someone's quoting my character.
Yeah, well, yeah, see, you got popular. You took a chance. You took a chance on saying a sere, and it got
Yeah,
popular. So, well, that's probably like one of the reasons. What was it that series what was it? Your role was like one of the most popular in the series, right?
and Kane. Yeah,
Yeah, and then
and
Kane.
I think the reason why it became popular is because it felt real. There
Yeah,
was something about him that was authentic, and it was the little things like when I went to Miami, the people like, "Hey, Santo," my character. I think one of the reasons again is because they knew the word "acere," and they knew you had to be from there. You had to be from the streets or know the streets and all these. Luckily, I'm not really from the streets,
uh-huh,
but
uh-huh.
I knew a lot of people from the streets,
Right,
so I knew
right.
the character I was playing in a way. So the character felt authentic, and that's why I think even if people didn't know why it felt authentic, there was something about him that felt authentic,
Uh-huh,
and
uh-huh.
that's why the character became popular. And then it was beautifully written, and you're as good as what they write. If they don't write
Right,
any lines for me, or
right.
if I don't have anything good to say, um, then and my character did things that the audience identified, and definitely certain people from the audience liked that. There was a scene that I get arrested, and the cop is threatening me to deport me back to Cuba if I don't give Jimmy Smith. They want me to give Jimmy Smiths away. They give me all kinds of deals so I can say that Jimmy Smiths had been involved in a crime.
Oh, so they wanted you to rat on him then, right?
They want me to
Oh,
rat on.
okay. Okay.
And you see me in the scene, and at some point I say, okay, okay. And the guy gives me a piece of paper so I can write the confession.
Uh-huh.
And I write in Spanish, "Kiss my ass." And I give it over to the guy,
Uh-huh.
the cop, played by Wolfgang Bodison, he was guest starring that episode. Wolfgang, who became a good friend of mine, and I later cast him in the movie. Wolfgang was in A Few Good Men. He was one of the leads in A Few Good Men. He was the one on trial, who at the
Okay.
end says to Tom Cruise, salutes Tom Cruise. So Wolfgang was playing the cop. So I write that, I hand it over to him. I hand it over to him. And then he looks at it and he realizes that I'm onto it, that he doesn't have anything on me. And
Right.
I'm not going to rat out the Jimmy Smith's character. Obviously, that's not my choice. That was written. That was written by Cynthia. Or no, that episode wasn't written by Cynthia, but it was written. But the audience loved it.
Hmm.
The episode comes out. This is funny enough. The episode comes out, and I go to a Starbucks, and outside Starbucks, in the valley, there's these 4 or 5 Italian guys. They all look retired, and they're all sitting there. And I walk by them, and one of them sees me, and goes, hey kid," and he stands up and he puts his arm on me. He goes, "You did good, you did good," and I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And one of them is, he says, "You didn't say a word. You didn't say a word."
You thought you thought he was talking about something in real life, but he was talking about the
Or about my
series.
performance or something,
Wow.
the show. He was talking about my character as a character,
Wow.
as if I was that character for real. Like, hey, you didn't speak, you didn't say a word, you did good.
Hey, if you had that old guy's approval, you're golden there. I mean,
Hey,
you know.
absolutely. I remember going back to set that day because I had stopped the car on my set. I go, "Hey, I've been, I've been mob approved. My character was mob approved. I got the seal."
Uh, so did the other two retired guys along with him? Did they shake their head when he says you
Oh
did
yeah, no,
good?
they were all watching this. They would all watch the show. I
Oh,
watched the show. They
wow.
were like, I mean, after that, we started talking and stuff, but
Yeah, 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 yeah.
it was the funniest thing.
Well, I mean, man, those are diehard fans right there. I mean, if they're diehard fans, they're going to tell this person, and that person's going to tell five more, and it only can grow from there. You
Right?
you probably have that whole community, that whole town there watching you every week, you know?
Yeah, no. I had some shady fans. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, that project was a success. The series there, that TV series was a success. Another one that you've got coming out, another project that you were in, um, Final Vow, had
Yeah.
its premiere at the Boston International Film Festival in April of this year,
Hmm.
2023, and it's now. I just happened to see you post about it on Instagram, in an Instagram story. It's premiering at the Newport Beach Film Festival, October 18th, and
18th at 7 p.m. I think 7:30.
yes, yeah, that's right.
Final vow.
That's right. Not too much longer from now. It's just around the corner, October 18th. So everybody out there, you buy your tickets, and
Yeah.
this program is going to be uploaded by that time. So as soon as you see this, buy tickets or start to buy tickets even before, so that you can get in the door, so that you're not turned away. You're going to want to see that project, and so that Final Vow project. It's about a nun who had a mysterious past. So,
Hmm.
uh, what was your role in the film in relation to this mysterious story about that nun? If
Okay.
you're at
The
liberty to give away a few hints.
Yeah, no, I can tell you so. I can tell you so.
Okay.
The nun is played by Cristina Urias, beautifully played by her, uh, and directed by Ruben Islas. Ruben, just to give a little backdrop of how relationships. I had played one of the leads in a movie that had come out the year before, called Seventh and Union, and Ruben was the executive producer of that film through his company, Broken English Productions. So this was Ruben's directorial debut, and he offered me this role of Escobedo. And Escobedo is Escobedo. Escobedo. I had a really hard time finding anything that was likable about him
Uh,
for people. You have to make him likable to yourself. You have to find, because people in real life don't think they're a bad guy. You know, the most part. It's hard to say I'm playing a bad guy. You're a product of, when you're playing it. You're a
right,
product of your environment.
right.
You look
Yeah,
for the good in that character or
yeah,
what makes you tick.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
by doing so, I found a lot of fun stuff in the character, and they were they were beautiful in letting me add some stuff to this character that I thought would make him interesting without taking anything away from the story, obviously. But Escobedo is he's part of the he's part of a mafia in Mexico. The movie takes place in Mexico, and he's part of this mafia, um, who are basically run the whole area and run everything that passes by that territory, like usually happens with any mafia cartels.
Mm-hmm.
And this character is my character. He's bad. I mean, he's not somebody who I would want to ever meet in person. And he enjoys being who he is, which makes him even darker.
Right.
But it was fun to play.
Yeah. Is it safe to assume that, like, say, like, if you were like ever in trouble with something and you had to have somebody on your side fighting for you, even though he was this dark, nasty character, that you'd want him in your corner, somebody like that? If
I don't know, because he might deal with them and deal with you at the same time.
Well,
yeah. It's not. It will be making a deal with the devil.
Yeah,
really.
Yeah.
Like that character was a killer, but at the same time, if he was your friend, he was your friend. If he was on your side, he was on your side. There were stuff about him that I'm sure we've all met people like him, even though we don't realize that we met people like him. Like the character Escobedo is, you don't meet people like that every day. Luckily. I'd like to think that you don't meet people like that every day.
Yeah.
And he's living in a place, where he's king in the area. They run everything, so it's like there's no obeying laws or anything like that. They are the law. This guy and his boss, played by Luis Gatica, excellent actor. So that was a fun role, very fun role to play, but luckily, I don't want to meet him in real life. And the movie turned out really well. It's a dark film. It has to do with the human trafficking as well. It's got some reality in there. About what that's like. So it has a good message, and it's entertaining at the same time. Which I think is best type when you're able to do something that's with a good message and entertaining.
Well, like you were saying, human trafficking. I mean, that's a nasty subject anyway. So I guess in a project like that, they have to bring a character in that's just as nasty or even nastier to kind of help the storyline along, to make it seem real and not so much of a story,
Totally.
but more true to life.
Well, you're the antagonist.
Any
good story needs an antagonist, a challenge, an obstacle. And these characters are. My character is one of the big challenges for the lead character.
Well, then on the other side of the coin, getting away from that darker storyline of films. Another project which is sort of on the same level. It's dark, but I don't know so dark, but dark anyway. Your wife, Judy, too, stars in a short film, Just a Man and a Woman. And that was also screened at the Love and Hope International Film Festival in Barcelona. And that short film, was made in 2021. And it's won film festival awards. And like I said, it was screened in Barcelona at the film festival last month in September. So I thought it was very interesting, the way the film was, set up in the scenes and the number of characters and everything. So could you tell us a little bit about that film and if there were like any challenges, like as a filmmaker that you faced, since there were like only two people in the film
Hmm.
and that was it in the entire film, and with those people dealing, say, with like only basically one set, kind of like a small set, what kind of challenges with those two givens did you face?
I mean, the challenge was at the beginning before the actual filming of the movie was. I wish every project was like that. And I wrote and directed this film. And giving a little back history, I had directed, not written, I had directed a feature film called Pretty Rosebud that my wife had played the lead and started. And that was my directorial debut a few years before. But I hadn't directed in a while. And I was at a point in my life, and we shot it, not 2021. We shot it in the end of 2019, I believe we shot the movie. But it had its film festival run, kind of like, I think it started 2021. That's why you mentioned 2021. That's the date that comes out. Because of COVID, everything was delayed. Post production was delayed. We started the film festival run late. But that film, the challenge, like you said, was filming in one room.
Yeah, yeah,
How do you tell an entertaining story in one room? And that was
yeah,
something that I always wanted to do. One, for financial reasons. Two, because it was easy to control the environment. I was in one room. There's no you. It's expensive once you start moving to another location. You spend hours moving to another location, especially
yeah,
if you do it in the middle of the day. Um, so, and I always wanted, like I said, I always wanted to tell an intimate story that took place in one room. And I had seen years before, I had seen a film called 28 Rooms. I was told in 28 Rooms. Little backstory, again, synchronicity. The
yeah.
director of that movie, who wrote that movie and directed that movie, 28 Rooms, was Matt Ross, who also directed Captain Fantastic. Excellent actor, by the way. He was in Christian Bale. He played the serial American Psycho. He got killed by Christian Bale.
Mm.
Excellent actor, Matt Ross. But he's also a fantastic writer and director. So he had done that movie, 28 Rooms. Matt Ross also happens to be the director of Gaslit.
Okay.
So here I am in Gaslit, and I'm in post. I'm editing the movie that was inspired by something he had done.
So everything comes full circle.
Full
Oh,
circle. And
wow.
I told him, and he goes, man. And I said, I've seen that movie so many times because I wanted to see how he had done it and the conversations and how intimate and so
Yeah.
entertaining. And he's like, man, you might be the person that's seen the movie the most. 28 Rooms. So I
So,
wanted to do something like, not like that, but that
uh-huh.
took place in one room. And I also liked Last Tango in Paris.
Hmm. Hmm.
That wasn't in one room, but it was mostly in one room. I had those intimate conversations that didn't feel like they were acting. Um, and both movies have a sexy element to them, which I also wanted to explore that. So that's how that movie came about, Just a Man and a Woman. And then to piggyback on that, and I don't know if it's one of your questions, was A Summer Night.
Yeah, yeah, that's that that was another question that I wondered about. But yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. That was
So
interesting too. Yeah.
because they're connected in a way, that's why A Summer Night. So we're late into the post production of Just a Man and a Woman because COVID hit. So then we're in COVID. We're all stuck in the house. We're all using Zoom and phones and texting and all
Yeah,
these
yeah, yeah.
everything but seeing people in person. And and then I started hearing different stories. People were telling me their stories. I would be chatting with them and like, oh, I'm locked in the house. I haven't left the house. I haven't seen. Luckily, I was with my wife, but other people had not seen any family
Yeah,
members or
they
any
didn't.
friends.
Yeah,
They were
they.
stuck. Food was delivered to the front door. That's all.
Mhm.
You know, they didn't even see a person delivering the food. You
Yeah,
pay
yeah.
online.
yeah. A
So,
lot
like
of door dashing going on during that time.
totally.
Yeah, yeah.
So I wanted to tell part of suddenly I'm like, I wanted to tell that story of what people were going through during COVID, and not necessarily be talking about COVID in itself. I was interested in because we all know about COVID. I wanted to capture what people were going through, and at the same time, I wanted to capture it in the moments that they were going through it, without without knowing how this was going to turn out. So when we were doing the film, we didn't know how COVID would end. We were living through it. And I also did the thing, which was a little crazy looking back, but it worked out, that I was in post for Just a Man and a Woman. I was in post while I was filming um,
A
a
summer
Summer
night.
Night. And
Uh-huh.
we shot it. And Summer Night, it takes place in our house. I shot a few exteriors, but it's always by herself.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
and those shots, I stole them. We went into Ralph's, and Ralph's is empty. I wanted to show her, trying to shop for some stuff.
Right,
And the
right.
aisles totally empty, and the aisles were empty.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Nobody came around and say, "Hey, you can't film in here," or anything like that. They probably didn't want to get close to us.
That's right, right. They didn't want to catch anything. Yeah.
They didn't want to because we're living at that time. So I was able to shot in the street. I shot a beginning opening of the movie. It's in the street. Her running through the street. The running was a vehicle to show everything that's happening with all the businesses closed. She runs through a school. You see a school that there's a lock on the gate, a gate in front of the school. They built a gate to lock the school.
Yeah, yeah.
School, you see the signs of like wear a mask, blah, 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 all that. That's how I said this is COVID
Hmm.
and what we're living. And then I go in and I tell the story. And then I was looking, how do I tell this story in an entertaining way
Yeah, yeah.
instead of just a bunch of talking heads?
Right.
And
Yeah, that's right.
that's when OnlyFans and all that started getting some attention, and a lot of people, it was doing crazy business.
Mhm.
Crazy business. People were looking at other people online, stripping and whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm like, I'm gonna tell the story of COVID through a woman who does webcamming to make it entertaining
Hmm.
as
Hmm.
well and have some commercial value, because I knew the research I had done at that time really quickly, and there wasn't a lot because things hadn't come out, was that nobody really wanted to see a COVID movie. You're not going to get any distribution or anything like that if your movie's about COVID.
Yeah,
So I'm like,
yeah.
my movie can't be about COVID. It's about COVID, but I can't say it's about COVID.
Right,
It's got
right,
to have
right.
something else.
So, so you,
Therefore, only
yeah,
one time the word COVID is mentioned the whole movie.
yeah.
And that wasn't even planned. That was somebody that added the word COVID, and I realized afterwards that he mentioned COVID. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, one time.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how A Summer Night came about. And then cut to, the movie turned out I love the movie. And what they say, as a director, and I wrote and directed the movie, and my wife stars in it. And then I cast a bunch of my friends who were home not doing anything. And I'm like, hey, it's easy. I just need an hour of your time,
Oh,
and it'll be
okay.
through Zoom. And people were like,
Oh,
yeah, sure. And then I shot the movie. I shot the movie with the recording on here on the computer. I
yeah,
shot it
yeah.
through that, and I also had a camera. The only person that was on set was my DP, who was the same DP, Dylan Dixon, who had done Just a Man and a Woman. He had been the DP of Just a Man and a Woman, had recently worked with him, and he was home with his grandparents. He wasn't doing anything as well. I'm like, hey, you want to shoot this movie?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, well, we haven't left the house. We haven't been around anybody. Shooting myself, we haven't been around. He was the same. So that's how we did this movie, and we did everything ourselves. Um,
Yeah, I thought that was very interesting because I remember in Barcelona, like after the screening of A Summer Night, you had the Q&A after the screening there, and I remember uh, you saying about the different shots that you made, like you were saying on Zoom, and also the like the side shots that
like a normal movie.
yeah, like an actual camera. So like I don't know if this is the correct term to use, but say like if you're watching Zoom, like head on, like a straight head on shot. I don't know, in my opinion, I don't know if anybody else's opinion. It's sort of like sterile, like a one
Yeah.
dimensional, and it seems like when you use that technique of an actual camera at an angle from the side, like side shots, it seemed to make the movie real, like there was like depth to it, like another dimension, and it seemed more believable and real. I mean, not
One of the best compliments I got was in Barcelona was somebody walked in right after the movie started, and this person later on told me, for a few minutes I was watching the movie and I thought it was a documentary.
Oh wow, that's quite a compliment.
And because that's what I was going for.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
what I was
yeah.
going for. I wanted the film to feel like you're watching, almost a little voyeuristic,
It's
like you're in the house watching her
yeah, yeah,
working on Zoom, but at the same time you can see what she's really going through. Because
yeah.
this is one thing, and this, like you said, it's flat. And as I was doing the film, I started realizing also by doing this that the camera, and I know this as an actor, the camera's a lie detector. Zoom, not necessarily. This flat is not
Yeah,
a lie detector.
yeah, yeah.
You can get away with lying in a way and you can play with distance,
Right,
You
right,
can
right.
move back,
Yeah,
you can move. But the camera, when you put a camera on somebody, the camera knows you just got to tell the truth.
yeah.
So I knew I needed a really good actor.
Uh-huh.
And luckily I'm married to one who who could hold a movie, who could
Oh
hold your
yeah. Oh,
attention for an hour and be truthful the whole time.
oh, she did. Yeah,
And
yeah,
I loved when we cutting from this to the moments that she kind of moved a little bit and
yeah,
you saw what she was going through, and then she came back and she's smiling to the client because
yeah,
this person is paying to be entertained, is paying to escape
yeah.
what the reality was at that moment. But she was going through her own stuff, and that's
Hmm.
that's the real movie. What she's going, it's not only
Yeah,
what they're going through, but what she's going through. But they don't know that
yeah,
she's going.
yeah, yeah. I was going to say that those side shots with the actual camera, it 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 brought reality to it that it showed like all the emotions that she was feeling behind the facade of the
Yeah,
straight Zoom screen. It seemed to bring it to life and to uh, give the viewer like the behind the scenes emotions and reality of the facade that she was presenting on this flat screen like that. Yeah, yeah,
totally, and that's what I was going for. And
yeah.
then we shot the film, and then afterwards, I'm like, oh, I need some inserts, and I need this, and I need it. You need a couple more shots. I didn't have access to a DP at that point. So
Oh,
I shot that. So there were more like flashbacks or quick inserts, and I shot that with an iPhone.
oh, okay,
The
okay.
inserts I shot them with an iPhone.
Yeah,
But going
yeah.
back, a summer night, not a summer night, just a man and a woman, the movie that I shot the year before, was
Hmm.
shot with an iPhone.
Oh, really? Okay.
Reason why I shot that with an iPhone was because when I did the feature film, Pretty Rosebud, the relighting and the camera lenses and all this was slowing me down. And that's great when you have the budget, but for no budget, like I was doing just a man and a woman, uh, the iPhone was a great
Oh,
tool for
yeah,
me.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
Steve Soderbergh had just done a couple movies on an iPhone, so
okay.
I had looked at his interviews, and also there was Tangerine that had been at Sundance a few years ago, and I had met the writer of the Tangerine as well, and I had asked him questions about the iPhone and stuff like that. So I had done a lot of research on the iPhone and shooting the iPhone. So that's why. And then when I did this movie, Summer Night, I realized that big Hollywood films have iPhone shots in it. You just don't know they're iPhone. Places where you can't put a normal camera because you got to sneak it in a little hole like this, and you want an angle, a quick insert or something.
Yeah, Yeah.
The iPhone is perfect,
Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
can blend it in.
Yeah.
But in my case, it was even better because there was a bunch of flashbacks that I shot that I wanted to shoot, and then I realized that the texture of the iPhone is totally different than the Blackmagic or the Zoom.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So it gave you automatically, when I cut through those shots, you knew it was a flashback
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
it felt different. It looked different.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah.
of course, in post and coloring and all that, you come in and you make it more obvious. I just lost a light, like in
Oh,
real life. Funny
that's all right. Well,
enough.
we
It's
deal
a
in.
little bit more dramatic now.
That's right. That's right. I can see the serious side on your right side and the not
Yeah,
so
right.
serious on your left side. So no, that's totally fine. It's like on my show, like anything goes. I mean, this is true to life, whatever happens. I always tell people, think of it as two good friends getting together for a cup of coffee
You
or
did say that to me in Barcelona, so I have the coffee right here.
there you go.
Cheers.
Cheers, yes. Or like we say in Slovenian, we say Nazdravia. Cheers.
Whatever you just said.
Yeah. But, well, I have to mention, since we're talking about a summer night and everything like that, and your wife, Judy, I've got to mention that she won Best Actress for a feature film at
Yep.
in Barcelona. So kudos to both of you. I mean,
Thank you. Thank you.
yes, it couldn't have gone a better way for you, having an excellent film and Judy being the best actress. So yeah, so you did.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, no
Appreciate
problem.
it.
You
Thank
did
you so much.
everything right all the way around. So yeah.
But we're playing next. We're playing next. Just a quick plug. We're playing next at Billy the Kid Film Festival in Hickgold, Texas.
Okay.
Then
Okay.
we're moving right after that. We're going to be playing at the Hollywood, Florida Film Festival
Oh, great.
in November. So if
Oh,
you're in Florida, look for the film at the Hollywood, Florida Film Festival, and you can find it on Instagram. They've been
okay.
posting about it, and A Summer Night movie is our Instagram. So I've been posting there about our journey with the film and where we're playing next
Yeah,
and
yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah, and I've been posting about your upcoming interview, which is recorded now, but all of you
Thank
out
you.
there that are seeing it, it's out there right now. But this was recorded probably about a week before, so yeah, make sure that you follow Oscar and Judy and the film's Instagram, all their pages there. So you're going to be entertained, and you won't be disappointed. And
Thank you.
I can vouch for that because I've seen both of your films in Barcelona, and uh, totally enjoyed the acting and the way that your film was made and presented. So yeah, so nothing but great things for I should say continued great things. I mean,
Thank you, Edward. Thank
yeah,
you.
yeah,
I hope to keep directing more. Um, I love directing. I love storytelling. It's just I don't see it that big. It's different than acting, but I don't see it as that big leap. It's storytelling. As an
yeah,
actor, I tell stories. As a director, as a writer, I get to tell the whole story.
that's right, that's right, and that's why all of us got in this business in the first place, because we enjoy acting and in the world of our imagination, and we love to think up of stories, think up of the stories on our own, like when we were kids, just create a story out of thin air and have maybe three or four of our friends around us, right? And create like a whole story that could last like a whole afternoon, right? It's like, okay, you play the bad guy, I'll play the good guy. Next time we'll switch back and forth. So yeah, that's all part of it. So yeah, and like I said at the beginning, that's the reason why we all get up in the morning, or the thing that gets us up and gets us motivated and give us energy, because the love of what we have for
Yep.
what we all do with this medium or on the stage or whatever like that. So Uh, Another thing that you enjoy doing, I seen you post about it, is that you work out. You work out a lot, and I noticed different posts working out at a gym. And so I was just wondering, since you work out at a gym or however else you work out, if you know, running or jogging in the outside, whatever, and you do this, do you do this like, say, to for your own physical health or to prepare for upcoming roles, or is it sort of a combination of both?
It's a combination of both. It's a combination of both. First, for my own physical health and mental health. I've been working out my whole life. To me, it's a way to be moving. And it helps me with my mental health as well. The angst, the stress. It's a great stress release.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
To work out, to move, and it doesn't have to go be in the gym. It could be walking. I walk. I run when my knees are not hurting. I run.
Yeah.
I look for stairs. Anything that's movement.
Yeah.
If you think about it, as kids, we're always running. We're always at some point we stop doing that. Most stop doing that, and that's why I think that's why the joints start getting, a little stiff, and this and that.
Yeah. I know. I was going to say, probably we stop running as we get older because we're afraid we're going to break something, right?
Yeah, that too.
I know that in my case, that's it. But like you were saying about walking, I mean, I like to do a lot of walking. I'll walk, either every day or maybe every couple days, or like you say, stairs, like where I live, the apartment, it's got stairs. So, I'm constantly going up and down stairs, whether, say if you go out to do some shopping or something, well, you go up the stairs and then you got the bags for your weights going up and down, up the stairs. So yeah, no, I totally agree. I totally agree with that. Yeah.
So that's the main reason why I work out, but also for when I'm working on a role, it does several things for me when I'm working on a role. It helps me get into the world of that character.
Mm-hmm.
If I can understand what the character's thinking and feeling, then I can play the character. And often working out gives me, is he heavier than me? Is he thinner than me? Is he bulkier? Where does he have his strength? How does he lead? The whole physicality of the character. And working out is one way for me to get to that. The other thing that it does is I'm rehearsing when I'm working out. When I'm working on a character, I'm rehearsing, or even directing. I'm going to direct something. I'm thinking about the project.
Okay.
As well. It helps you memorize as well.
Oh yeah.
You memorize easier when you're moving. So for me, that's one thing it does. It also helps. And I try to see, one of the exercises I do is as a character is, if I'm working out, what would this character do working out if he works out?
Mm-hmm. So like when you're working out and you were saying like you're rehearsing, if you're in a role, rehearsing your lines, that probably helps you to remember better, right? Because like you're not totally concentrating on learning the lines, but you're sort of distracting yourself with physical activities so that the lines become second nature while you're
exactly
like moving around instead of staying.
And I'm not saying the lines. I'm not repeating the lines that I'm saying. I look at the lines. For example, I might have a scene with me, conversation with me. I might look at the line that I'm saying, my first line, and then I just look at it and let it sit there as I'm working out, and I'm thinking about, what is it I want? Who am I? Why am I asking this? Who's this person to me? What all that stuff? I'm letting it marinate in a way.
Okay.
So when I'm on set, I don't have to think about any of that. It's like I have a full tank, and now I'm going for the ride, and I'm not thinking about everything that I work. But I trust that it's there, that I've created this whole world, and working out is just one way that helps me do that.
Yeah. So when you work out, do you do a lot of weight training?
I like to do weights. because it helps burn fat. And I do cardio. I don't like cardio, but I do cardio as well. I finish with cardio about 3 times a week. I finish with cardio, but it all depends on the character. If I'm playing a character that's not physically, looks like he's in great shape, then I won't be lifting weights. So I lift very light just to maintain, but I don't want to give the impression of being muscular. So I might just do more cardio.
Oh, okay.
I might walk more. I don't want to have that. If I'm playing a character who's aggressive and physically strong, then I might lift a little heavier.
Okay.
I use working out in a way to inform my character who I'm playing.
Right.
What type of shape that character's in.
Yeah.
Because I think I have to be loyal to that as well.
Oh yeah. So like when you're working out or whatever workouts you do at the gym, if it's not affiliated like a role that you're preparing and you're just there just for your own health and just doing it for you, say what would your typical workout be? Weights or cardio or
a combination of both. Of both. At the gym that I go, they have heavy bags, so I might use the heavy bag as a warm up, hitting the heavy bag, and I'll do that for 10 minutes.
Okay.
Getting into my body, and then I'll lift weights, and I won't go that heavy, but I don't want to go that light either. That doesn't feel like a challenge. You want your body to be able to burn fat.
Right.
So I'll do that. I'll do anywhere from 8 to 12 repetitions, whatever I'm exercising about four sets of that. And I'll choose 2 body parts, let's say. I'm not going to go crazy. I'm not trying to be a bodybuilder or anything like that. So I'll choose 2 body parts. Let's say I'm going to do chest and shoulders that day. And I'll just focus on that. And then I might go for a walk, like a 20-minute walk once I'm done lifting. Or I might do the bicycle at the gym or the treadmill, something just to have some cardiovascular. I'll do that for about 20, 25 minutes. So I should be done I shouldn't be there more than an hour. That's
so that 20 say that 20-minute walk afterward, that kind of eases you out of your workout, right? Like if it was an intense workout, that walk will kind of step you down kind of gradually, like from a heavy workout, right?
Well, it's cardiovascular. So I'm trying to
yeah.
walk at a certain pace. I'm not like walking and just relaxing. Walking at a certain pace because I want my heart rate to go up.
So
I keep that in mind. But in a way, it's also a way of getting out of the gym.
Right.
I sometimes, I go in and out of the gym. Sometimes like gym's on fire. I'm trying to get my workout in and in and out. That's a lot of times the goal. When I go to the gym, but I feel I need to go to the gym. With the years and with research, I've realized that it's good for the memory, it's good for the mind, to be active, it's good for the joints. I don't want to gain weight. I have had lower back issues my whole life. So one of the things they told me was as long as you don't gain weight, it shouldn't be an issue. If you start gaining weight, then you're gonna have back pain.
Right.
That's true.
Because then you got that extra pressure on your back from like being heavier. That's
totally. And the heavier you are, you're gonna have issues with your knees. You're gonna have issues with your ankles because you're carrying around more weight. That's common sense.
I know. I heard recently, like especially today, there's older people. I mean, both men and women, and they're getting into bodybuilding. There's even like Instagram pages of these older people, like well into their 60s, that are still bodybuilding. And on one of the Instagram post stories, this one bodybuilder said that it's good for people as they get older to lift weights because that helps them live longer. And I never thought about it that way, but I guess it's true that if you lift weights, it helps you like muscles not to atrophy and your joints to stay healthy
Absolutely.
and all
As
that.
we get older, we lose body mass.
Yeah,
It starts in your 30s. Once you're in your 30s, you start losing body mass, and it goes on and on and on until. So if you don't work out,
I know it.
you're speeding up your aging
Yeah. I
of your
think like
body.
I think like they used to say after 25 it's all downhill, right?
Yeah,
Unless
but
you
it
win.
doesn't have to be.
No, no, I know it. No,
It
I
doesn't
know.
have to be.
Yeah, you can turn it around. Yeah. 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 Well, Oscar, I really enjoyed having you on my show today. I mean, it's been an absolute pleasure to speak with you and to know so many more things about you than just the amount of time that I spent with you and your wife Trudy at the film festival. And I've enjoyed speaking with you. I've enjoyed speaking with Trudy just the other day. Um, her interview will be coming up pretty soon on my YouTube channel, and followed by your interview. So yeah, I'd just like to thank you so much
Thank you. Thank you
for
for
being
having
on my
us.
show.
Thank you for having us, Edward. It's my
Yeah, yeah,
pleasure.
yeah. Thank you for graciously accepting my invitation to be on my show. And yeah, I envision nothing but great and greater things for you, your filmmaking career, Judy's
Thank you.
acting, your acting, and yeah. So yeah,
Amen.
yes, amen. Right? Yeah, yeah. So everyone, I've been speaking today with Oscar Torre, and he's a filmmaker, actor, director, writer, health enthusiast. I guess I could say health enthusiast with his workouts, whether it's for his personal benefit or for preparing for roles. And so I'd like to thank all of you out there for tuning again in today. And this interview you're watching now, whenever you watch it on YouTube, be sure to like the film, make any comments that you like about this interview or any other of my interviews that I have on my YouTube page. And so until next time, have a good day, and we'll see you next time for our next guest. So have a good day, and see you soon.